Hey, hello, hello, hello. Just reaching out. I thought it would be better to do a video, um, instead of just writing a book. I could probably save it for later at another time or whatever. But I wanted to just touch base and say, I really appreciate, the contact. It really was appreciated. I'm just having just a difficult time. These killings this time around have um, brought back a lot of memories that I never discussed with anyone, and that's one thing with Black people. We really don't voice a lot, because for the most part, I think some of us probably feel invisible. Um, it's one thing what's going on in the world, but then as Black people, as a community, is another thing too. So it's just a lot in my head psychologically, and I think as a counselor in training, um, it kind of just made me see things differently. Now, I'll say this: um, when you when you made a statement, and I don't want you to feel that you offended me in any way. You didn't offend me. It just hurts to hear certain things, because people really just don't know. They don't understand what it is to be Black. Period. We are the race that is the most discriminated against, right next to Native Americans. Um, so everyone has their little civil rights. I understand that, but me as a person, um, if brown people and other races don't stand up and speak up for Black people and not just with Black people, like, I have a problem with that, because it shows me that you're just there to benefit you, but when it's time for us, you go silent. There's so many depths, there's so many layers to just being Black, and not just in America. um, but I'll start by um, saying this: when Professor, asked her questions, I really just, for me, I just didn't feel it was appropriate. But I understand where she was coming from. She wanted to address it. I feel she could have addressed it another way. Um, but it's her class and she can do what she will. Um, Jillian, I heard you. Like, I heard you. Um, Minneapolis is enraged right now, whether you can understand it or not. I don't know much about the state of Minnesota, or the city of Minneapolis. I do know people there. I have very few people that live there. Um, a friend of mine I went to church with, that was his brother, George Floyd. Didn't know that. Um, so it's not just that it's hitting close to home, but it's just the fact of this is still happening from the days of Emmett Till. And I think what bothered me the most was when you shared the website for the RESMA. I thank you for that. But as Black people growing up, it's like Caucasians have always seemed to have to, like, be our savior, as though they're doing a favor for us. And sometimes that's how it comes across. It's not every Caucasian person, but it's just a constant reminder that we need you. And I think as Black people, we always try to stand up and be our own people, our own nation. Um, but I'm realizing now we can't do it by ourselves. Like, we actually need Caucasians. because you all have written the laws and the amendments of this country, and it really only serves you all. I don't know if you have Netflix, but it would be great if you can watch the Netflix show called 13th. And it's talking about the 13th Amendment. And these are things they don't teach you in school. When we're in school, we're taught of America and American history, and even the history of that is not taught well. I did not learn the depths of African American history until I got to college. Um, so there's a lot of things going on here. Um, the one thing I think that made me cry, and I think that was toward the end of the class, when doctor went back to you and said she was praying for you, um, and you said that you feel safe in your home. You feel lucky to feel safe in your home, and that cut me. It cut me because I didn't realize that African Americans, we walk with fear every day. And it's become our normal that we don't voice it. We walk around as though the fear is not there. But if you look at history, and you will see that African Americans were never safe, even in their own home, in their churches. Caucasians, the KKK, uh, as you know, burnt crosses. They waited till the nighttime to burn crosses and to throw Molotov cocktails into people's homes to burn them out, to scare them out of the neighborhoods. In New York, we still see these levels of discrimination where you see it's good enough for black people to come into your area to build your house and do your landscaping, but for you to actually buy a house and live in that neighborhood alongside them, that doesn't happen. That still happens today where Caucasians move out of the neighborhood because they don't want to share their property. They don't want to be known to be in a diverse community. And it's sad. Even where I live in Queens, my community is called Rochdale Village, and it was a Jewish community when it first came up. It was a community, what it really was a railroad area, and then they turned it into a racetrack, a betting racetrack. And then they put two buildings here, and it was a Jewish community. And black people helped build it. So as they started building more buildings, what they did was black people spoke up and they said, well, we're building these apartments. How come we can't live here? And it was written into the policy here for Rochdale at the time that only 1% of black people could actually move into these co-ops. 1%. Um, it's an African American community now. We have several more buildings, but it is an African American community now. Same thing with the projects. Projects were built by the black people. It was for black people. It was supposed to be affordable housing for black folks. It was not designed for it to have African American people and other races to be dependent upon the government to the point where they can't go anywhere. So what African Americans did was they learned the system because they were a part of the system. So they learned how to manipulate the system. And these are things that black people got to do. Is it right? Of course not. I'm not condoning it. But this is how we have to survive to get what we want. If Caucasians can have money and live in nice neighborhoods, we're going to have the same thing too. So that's what cut me the most when you said that. It's great that you are in a community where you feel safe. But for us, it's not that case. It's not. You wrote in the email, how can you help? How can you be better? How can you do better? I don't know. It all depends on what you want to do. I think, me personally, it's not so much the fact that you even have to understand. I'm not even asking you to understand what it's like for me to be a black Caribbean female in America, in New York at that. I think what black people would like as a whole is just to be respected and to be given the same chance that Caucasians have. You can look into any law. I can send you video of things that Congress have found written into laws that give Caucasians the upper hand. You guys get 10 steps ahead before any other race. And that goes in jobs. It goes in buying homes. It goes in banking and taking out loans. It's really sad. We want you all to acknowledge the fact that you are privileged. Whether you want to admit it or not, that's a fact. Just respect us as people. We're really a peaceable people. And I'm pretty sure you ladies have black friends. You know black people. You work with black people. One thing I told a boss of mine was because he made this statement and he didn't see why it was wrong. And he said, I have black friends. I allow a black person in my house. And I was like, ooh, you're going to get smacked in the face for saying stuff like that because you're going to be automatically labeled as being a racist. You don't have to prove that you're not racist by having black friends or having black people in your house or even having African artifacts in your house. Just treat us like you treat anybody else. Like, you don't need to tell people the number of black people that roll through your house. Listen, I don't have a lot of black people come through my house. I just don't need all the riffraff. People are people, and you gotta take them as that, you know? Doesn't prove that if you marry a person of color because you have biracial children that it doesn't make you racist. Guess what you're actually doing? Your biracial children now have to go through something in this country. African Americans are the only people that I know of that are discriminated against by every race. Latino people call us negra if they're dark like me or darker. Why are you with her? Why are you with him? Or even, not even so much him. Because if the woman is lighter than the man, there's a chance that the children will come out lighter. And see, this is a stigma with every black person. Every black person at some point have asked their question, why was I born this way? Why couldn't I be born white? Why couldn't I have the same chances as everybody else? Why am I not invited to certain places? And then you get the isolation even from your own community. Oh, Regan, you talk like a white girl. Oh, you too dark. Dark-skinned girls are too demanding. You're too dark, and that makes you ugly. There's a lot of things that go on with black people that we don't speak up about because it's too shameful. We're too angry. And it just simply hurts. Would you even understand if we talk like that to you? How would it make you feel? I have some friends that are silent now because they're afraid to voice their opinion. I don't know. But I have to question, are you really a friend of mine that you can't even speak up? You can't even like a post that I put on Facebook? Why? And this is not just from Caucasians. All my Caucasian friends are speaking up. I'm looking to the brown people, my Spanish friends, my Asian. Well, I don't have any Asian friends right now. But they're kind of silent. We deal with a lot. We deal with a lot. And it just hit me a different way. The psychology of it. I put it on Facebook the other day. It's just when we're born, it has to be hardwired into us early that we are black and we are beautiful and love yourself. There are going to be people out here that don't like you because of your skin. There are people who are going to be afraid of you because your hair is kinky. Your hair is nappy. Hmm? Um, our hair is versatile. Even the wigs we wear are fashioned after Caucasian females. It is hardwired from early. Just like Caucasians, y'all feel like we shouldn't be speaking about this to you all because you're not taught that history or you're not connected to it. But we as African Americans, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. A lot of the things that we do and the way we behave stem from slavery. And it stems from our forefathers who were Caucasian, where they were raping the women and having babies by us and denying them, right? You take the fathers, the men, big strapping black men from their families and you sell them. So they don't know their children. They don't know their wives. You take the women, big, beautiful women, and you sell them. And then what do you do with the children? So the family dynamic was destroyed even from then. And these are systems that were hardwired in us. So now to have to undo the system has been a great feat because we've seen this generation after generation after generation after generation after generation. It's that divide and conquer that splits the African American community, and it's horrible because when we have to sit down now as a nation, a community, we don't even know how to communicate with one another to break that system. We talk about it all day long. And then we want to sit here and blame the man. I'm done with that. I'm one of the black people that don't do that. I'm accountable and responsible for what I say and what I do. Because I can change whatever the system is. For the most part, you have people that do that. But this is what it is. I can go on all day long about things. But I just don't have the time. And the psychology of that is we have to bear the weight of the oppression of over 400 years on our shoulders. We have to remember when we go outside that we have to be representable, right? Our hair can't be anyway. You know, we have to be clean when we step out. Our clothes have to be clean and pressed when we step out. And even for us, when we see each other doing that, it's like, what are you doing? You making it easy to just be a target. We're always a target. Whether we thinking about it or not, we're always a target. There's no way for us to be seen, not to be seen. Even invisible, we're still seen. You know, and these are things like we don't talk about. You know, there's things we can't bring home and tell our parents, you know, because we don't want to spark something. I've had racist things done to me that my parents don't even know about. You just learn from it and you learn to move from it. And you try not to let it shape you in a negative way. But this time around, it just did something to me. And it was just dark. It was just dark for a moment. So that this is something I've never done. This is something I've never shared, not even with my own. Sitting down and talking and having talks like this and just being open and free to communicate the things that have been done, things that we've experienced. And New York is one of the most northern states, is one of them that is the most racist. And then when you go to the other New England states, it's just as bad, if not worse. Trying to compete with other people, for jobs. And you could be the most qualified, but because you're black, they'll choose a Latino over you. They'll choose an Asian over you. They'll choose a Caucasian over you just simply for the fact that they don't want you. And then it makes us feel bad sometimes, like when we have to have that affirmative action in place, because you have to have a certain percent of African Americans working in a company. It's a slap in the face, you know? I think for the most part, everybody works hard to get to where they want to be, but African Americans, we, for some reason, will always be fought. And I don't know why that is that way. I don't know why. It's not fair. Um, and I think for the most part, everybody's angry. Everybody has mixed feelings. Um, with these protests and stuff like now, like I am totally insulted because rioting and looting and setting things on fire and stealing and destroying communities is not the proper way to protest. And now we're having fake protesters who unfortunately look like Caucasians. They're hiding themselves. In New York, they're robbing other white people and claiming that they're protesting. It's a shame. It's just a shame. And there's no cops. There's no cops to come and get them because they're being called to other people being stabbed and robbed. Cops are being killed, white and black. It's just a sad day in America. It's just really a kick in the face. Really, it's a kick in the face. And every American should stand up and say something. Even those who want to be American should really stand up and say something because it's affecting all of us. Black people have to deal with the pandemic. We've got to deal with poverty. We've got to deal with just fighting to get the things we need. And then we got to deal with a president that set it off. He could have came and said something completely different. And it doesn't mean that the looting and the rioting and the protesting would have stopped. But it's what you said that gave everybody permission. Permission. And then you sit and you hide behind your big desk and you do nothing. You do nothing. The way he speaks about Mexicans. What makes y'all think that him saying that when the looting begins, the shooting begins, he planned for that to happen? Because he really thinks that black people are just that ignorant, and some of us are. That we were going to go and set all kind of things on fire, and then you're going to bring the military to just spray every last one of us? Mass killing. This pandemic is a genocide of all people. And then you have this president that wants to sit here and make statements like that and think like he's being cute. And you're just adding to the genocide. Idiot. I did not vote for Trump. And I'm not going to vote for Trump because he's a brat. He cares about himself and himself only. You see it every day. The way he speaks. You see how he even treats his own team. And these people who have been loyal, I would dare say they're brainwashed even. Because they say everything to be within good standing with this man. And then the next day, they're gone. So that's just what I wanted to share with you ladies today. I hope that kind of helped you in some way. I don't know. But it's just really hard. It's just hard being me. With everyone. You know, amongst my own. Just even for myself, I had low self-esteem for many years because it's hard. You know, you wake up and it's just like you got to face the world, and people just don't receive you because you're black. And I'm not a small stature. I'm about 5'7", and I'm thick. I got body. So I intimidate. I don't have a good resting face. So it intimidates. Um, I don't mean to. I try to be very conscious of how I'm looking, but um, it's difficult. It's difficult. So with that, I'll see you guys on Sunday. um, and hopefully, um, everything's all right. We don't have to delve into this. And shame on those who made ignorant remarks. You know, you live in an area, you may live in a state where you don't see racism. You might have 5% of black people in your state. Good for you. I live in New York. We're a melting pot. So I see all kind of stuff happen here. I hear about all kind of stuff happening here. So excuse me for having a little flavor. But with that said, you guys take care. God bless.